There's lots of them, okay? Now what I would do, and let's assume that I had not taken into account all of the no follow links. So I just skipped that step because it was going to take forever. But now I have a whole bunch of pages that I can look to. There are a lot of pages that should be getting a redirect, right? And so all you need to do to get a whole bunch of, and I'll show you an example. Like we look at this. Here's a cement truck rollover. We can verify that someone's linking to that, and that this is going to 404, page not found. Okay? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my question was not that. So, why not just go to Webmaster Tools and download all these 404s?
So you're not going to get everything. This is a much better way to get this. What Webmaster Tools is giving you are the 404s that they know exist by spidering your site, right? So when we did this the first time where we looked at elinelaw.com and we got 2 404s, that's what you're going to get out of Webmaster Tools. What you're not going to get out of Webmaster Tools are all of the external sites that are pointing to pages that don't necessarily exist. And so this is a much more comprehensive way to get a feel for what's missing out there.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
Very interesting. By using historical index.
What's that?
Why using historical index?
Because this is what's happened, and I see this over and over again. When you use a historical index, you're getting a much larger data set. You're getting a link that existed a long time ago, right? And what I'm really looking for, what frequently happens, and I'm running into this right now with a big box provider. So big box provider takes over an account and they do a website redesign. But they don't bother to look at the entire sitemap of a existing site and make sure that every single one of those pages is 301 redirected. And because they didn't do that, they have just cut the number of links going to the site, to any page that's not a 404 site, by 10% or 15% or even 1 or 2%, right? And so and the reason I asked for an example that's of a site that's been kind of rebuilt over and over again is very frequently when you get a designer who doesn't know 4/5 of anything about SEO, or you get a big box provider who's just vomiting out websites on a template, they don't take this step to see what are the links that we need to preserve. So when you do, so the proactive way to deal with this is when you relaunch a site, this is essentially our process to make sure that we're not losing any link value when we do a site relaunch. And so I'm really looking for as many pieces of, as many links going back as long as I possibly can in order to recapture the value of those links.
It's pretty amazing, Conrad. So what do I have to pay you to get this shit over to me?
Well, this is, I mean, this was pretty, just rewatch the video, walk through all the steps, ignore the pieces that I skipped one step before we went back. But it's fairly easy. Now, the one thing that we skipped, Michael, is it's very possible that all these 404s are already no-follow links, but I doubt it, right? I think you would be very wise to go through, get this 404 list, I can even email it to you, and just 301 everything. And
if you can do that for me, I'll send you a check. Make it happen.
Don't send me a check.
I didn't record the first part because I don't want my competitors watching this.
Okay, I actually like that. So I'll send you this list, and if anyone needs help, I'm happy to kind of send you an email of the basic steps. I just kind of jotted them down on my notebook while I was doing this. But the cool thing, Michael, if you do this and you 301 everything, it would be really cool to come back and tell us if there's been an impact to search traffic, right? This is that's what we really want to see. Let me see if I can find those graphs again.
Just keep in mind, Conrad, that a lot of that stuff are intentional 404s because they're coming from crappy sites that are like Penguin type penalization.
Great.
So
Great.
That's why I don't use a 404 to start plugin, because I manually want to do it all.
So that's a great caveat, right? One of the things that I skipped on this process was maybe you have a bunch of crappy links that you frankly don't want to be 301. Maybe you do want them to be 404. So that's another good filter in this process to make sure that you're being smart about things.
Yeah. Conrad, I was going to say one more thing about that. You might want to encourage people to download their disavow file and merge it into that list to make sure that you're not doing exactly what was just said.
Right.
Which is to redirect those horrible links back to your site that you just spent 10 hours going to the disavow file trying to get back into.
Right. This is a super big important point that I didn't gloss over. I skipped. There are bad links out there, right? And kind of the process I walked you through was using the presumption that all the links are good. There are a bunch of bad links out there. Filtering out the bad stuff in this process is absolutely vital.
Well, Joe just came up with a solution. Just merge the disavow list.
Yep.
One more thing to add to this is, the streaming call that you did there.
Yeah.
If you look at 301, and then you look at where the destination 301 is, and you recall that, because if you have more than 3 lots, you're losing a ton of juice. So if you did find, without, basically what I'm saying is, you need to look at the 301s also, and make sure you don't have multiple hops there, because stuff not like that. It will be down to the figure. And each hop, they're losing 15 to 20%. So.
Yeah, so that's another process we do. We call this 301 daisy chain. And so there's a whole other process that you want to go through to the extent that you can identify. And a 301 daisy chain is essentially saying it's a redirect to a redirect to a redirect to a redirect. And that absolutely kind of waters down the value of any link pointing to anywhere within that chain, especially at the top of the chain. And so you get these 301 daisy chains, and the easiest way to change them is to just cut all the links in the chain and make sure that 301 is completely, it's a direct, this is where this is currently going. But if you 301 something to another page that's 301, you're creating a daisy chain and you're losing value.
One more question. Why not, rather than 301, why not add content, create a page rather than 301 redirect? That's what I did. I just created those pages and other content on them.
So in many cases, what we find, and I think this is like a great one-to-one kind of situation, in many cases we will find that this is often done accidentally with a site redesign, right? So it's not like, let me see if I can find a good example on this. It's not like, I can't find a good example. Big rig collision special needs, okay? It's not like Michael doesn't have content about big rig collisions. It's that content lives somewhere else, okay? So that's one thing that I would really think about doing. Another thing that we have struggled with internally is if you drop a practice area, like we no longer do X, Y, or Z, how do you handle the content that used to be there, right? Do you 301 that to a page that's kind of maybe the home page? Or do you rewrite the content and say, hey, we don't do this anymore, but we recommend you hire Bill, the attorney across the street? So figuring out what you want to do with the content is a good idea. Generally what we find is that the content already exists, it just exists somewhere else. And one of the things that I am very cautious about is very large sites that continue to add content. I tend to find that the more aggressive, especially in PI, the lawyer is, the more they've listened to the content is king mantra, and the more willing they are to just continue creating more content. So I would do one of the things, and I wrote a post on this if I can find it. I'll see if I can find it. I would look at the number, we're getting off subject a little bit. I would look at the number of pages that you have indexed, and then I would go into Google Analytics, and I would look at the number of pages that are actually generating traffic. Here we go. And so that's a really good way for you to tell whether or not you have too much content. So in this example, the left, the vertical axis is the percentage of pages that are actually getting traffic, and the bottom is the number of indexed pages. So this guy down at the bottom here, right, he's getting less than 1 in 5 pages has generated any traffic in the last 12 months. And yet he called me asking whether or not he should continue writing 2 blog posts a day, right? And I was like, no, that's not your problem. So you need to think about where you fall on this kind of spectrum. Should we be creating more content, or do we actually need to consolidate?
Yeah, that's something Joe touched on earlier. Like, fix the stuff you already have on your site before you keep adding more stuff.
Yes.
Steroid addict that goes to the doctor, and the doctor says Tylenol instead of helping with your body. I mean, it's making sense.
But it's our fault, right? The SEO industry has told you that it's your fault that your site's not generating business, and it's because you're not writing content, and it's a total bullshit cop-out.
Well, it looks like that's the consensus over here. That's all I can do is rewrite stuff, man. But Conrad, I definitely would like to send that file.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, no problem.
When I get all those 301s, 4 quarters to turn into 301s or not, you know, at least have a chance. There we go.
Yep. All right, guys, thank you for having me. I wish I was in Las Vegas, and I will see you guys there next year.
Yeah, man, you should come out to Israel with me sometime. It's 1,000-yard range. Do some sniper training for Area 416.
You know damn well I have not shot any. I never told you this. I have not shot anything other than like a slingshot before I met you, and I haven't shot anything since. So I would love to do it again.
At least you got to fire full automatic.
That's right.
It's great, man.
All right, guys, thanks for having me, and enjoy the rest of the day.
All right, Conrad, thanks, buddy. Have a good one, man.
Bye.